Mental illness. This one word has such a negative connotation, but why? Over 22 million people in this world suffer from some form of mental illness. But yet, we treat it as a silent disorder. Out of this 22 million, 1 out of 5 are actively seeking treatment for their illness. And $14.6 billion is spent in the psychiatric drug business a year. The point of this video is not to criticize our society's shortcomings, but to change it for the effects of the future. Mental illness is not curable, and these people you're about to see are real. They all have one thing in common, and that's to stop the stigma.
I have depression, anxiety, and borderline personality disorder, and these are all things that affect me daily in my life. And it's really been hard to find ways to cope because it's not like it's like a physical illness where you can just take like Tylenol or something and just like ease the pain. It doesn't work that well. It's always there. It affects the way you look at life. It affects the way you interact with people. For instance, every day it's like a constant I'm always tense and scared because of my anxiety, and I always have no motivation because of my depression. And my borderline personality disorder makes it so that I become extremely attached and dependent on people, which doesn't go very well if they don't have it as well, because people don't naturally do that. But coping wise, I've learned that despite the fact that you struggle with mental illness, you still have that cognitive sense in your mind. Like, you can still tell yourself, like, the thing you've been worrying about that you think is going to happen probably won't happen. That's what anxiety does. It makes you create the worst case scenario in your head, and then you work yourself up about it. For instance, I've canceled so many social gatherings because I was afraid of what might have happened at them, like if I was going to be awkward or something. But I mean, I didn't know for sure if that was going to happen, but that was just my anxiety telling me. It's mental illness has taught me that it's okay to cry, it's okay to be weak, it's okay to be human. Because, I mean, having a mental illness, it's like you feel like you're basically, having a mental illness is like feeling like you're an open wound exposed to the world, and one bad interaction or one bad word said towards you is like lemon juice being poured into the wound, and it just stings more than it actually should. And it's so hard, but at the same time it teaches you it's okay because you can't help it. It's all chemicals. And one really misunderstood thing I think people don't understand about mental illness is that you can't just tell someone, well, stop being anxious, stop being depressed. It doesn't work that way. It's like if someone broke their leg and they were like, stop having a broken leg. It's the exact same thing. It's just in your head. And another thing people don't understand is that we aren't trying to seek attention whenever we reach out or whenever we talk about our suicidal thoughts. We want help, and we're trying to get help, and we're trying to improve ourselves. But because of this voice in our head that keeps telling us that we're not good enough and we're not going to go anywhere in life, it's just hard. But there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, and so many brilliant people have gone through this world with mental illness and succeeded, and that's another thing that motivates me.
Well, the illness I had growing up, I realized that I had it when I was in 6th grade, was a auditory processing disorder, where in school, if a teacher said something and I was turning around trying to get like a piece of paper and I turned back around, it almost felt like I put on a mute button and I could not hear what the teacher was saying until like 5 seconds later it actually finally came to me. So that was kind of my, I wouldn't call it like a mental illness, I would call it almost like a learning disability when I was in middle school. And my learning disability really didn't impact me because it almost made me not feel as smart as I think I am. Like, it kind of just messed with me a lot. It almost made me realize, oh, I'm not as smart as everyone thinks I am, or I'm just really not that smart at all, because it really does affect how I learn sometimes. And one lesson I did struggle with was just learning how to be confident, knowing that I can be as smart as other people. And that it's harder because I just have to try as hard. I have to push harder than some other people might have to. And one thing I did learn about my disability was that don't let it define who you are. Like, don't let it get under your skin. You know, you can still be a great student or a student athlete or whatever you want to be, and like still be just achieve any things you want. Just don't let that disability or anything just define who you are.
Mental illness affects those you never would expect. The reason why we don't know so much about this epidemic is because of the stigma around it.
So one thing I would like to tell people when they are prescribed medications is to definitely take them as prescribed, and compliance is a huge thing that people need to follow. Compliance makes you stable, and that is the most important thing. The next one is, will a doctor or therapist ever be upset if you decide to stop taking medications? They will not be upset, but you definitely need to talk to them beforehand, because there are different precautions that you have to take when getting off medication, such as weaning yourself off, or if you can just stop immediately. Do I believe that we should be aware of the side effects of medications to our bodies? Yes, and if you are having side effects, you need to call your physician, psychiatrist, or tell your therapist, and they can tell you what your best step is next. And last but not least, do I have anything else I would like to say? Medications are and can be an important component to therapy and treatment, and they have to be taken as prescribed. So that's all.
Remember, 22 million people are going through something so similar to you. Remember, someone is always out there for you, whether that's a friend or a family member. A major thing to remember about stopping the stigma is to tell others and reach out and get the help you need.